Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If you can please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the New Mexico state flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of Mexico as a symbol of perfect friendship among the United Countries.
And going on to the next item, approval of regular meeting agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the regular meeting agenda.
I'll second.
So we have a second by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion?
So we have some changes, right?
Did we?
I'm aware.
They wanted to table the town park.
That didn't happen at the time.
Wait, that happened at the time of the item.
Okay, so we have a second by Commissioner Edwards. Any further discussion? See all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to the next item, presentations. Presentation to Sergeant Manuel Maldonado, commendation. Commissioner Edwards.
Good morning, everybody in the audience, my fellow commissioners, county staff. We, on behalf of the commission and everyone present, we would like to present a commendation this morning to Sergeant Maldonado for his actions in Las Cruces on March 13th. Sergeant Maldonado saved the life of a woman on March 13th in Las Cruces, New Mexico. We'd like to recognize your outstanding performance and heroic life-saving actions on that day. Your actions reflect the highest standards of conduct for the law enforcement profession and brings great credit to the Grant County Sheriff's Department. I would just like to say that we don't, I think, take the opportunity to recognize the incredible hard work and sacrifice of the men and women that serve in our law enforcement often enough, and it gives me a great honor to present this certificate to Sergeant Maldonado today in recognition of his service to Grant County. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Sergeant Maldonado.
Can we please recognize Sergeant Maldonado one more time, please?
Thank you, Sergeant Maldonado. Moving on to next item on the agenda, the elected official report. Sheriff Gomez.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Now that we've gone to the 2 meetings per month, the first meeting and speaking with Chairman Ponce, I'd like to kind of give a synopsis of what's going on at the Office of the Sheriff. And then on the second meeting, I'll be giving the stats out of what's going on. So a little bit on staffing. We have hired 2 deputies, both certified. One to graduate from Western New Mexico University's Police Academy this month. The second is a trained certified officer leaving New Mexico Department of Game and Fish to join us. The other 2 deputies are uncertified. We are currently in the process with approximately 8 candidates, including 1 experienced certified officer that we're still looking into on the backgrounds and our hiring process. On training, we continue to offer both maintenance and advanced training opportunities to our staff, which include certified voice stress analysis, which 2 of our deputies, 2 detectives, will be going to Boulder, Colorado to get certified on the system. Advanced child abuse investigations, use of technology in sex abuse cases, crisis intervention management, verbal de-escalation, basic narcotics investigation and interrogations, tracking suspects missing persons training, basic first aid and CPR stop the bleed instructor training, armor school, General Mexico State Conference, intelligence gathering information and system training, the Narcan naloxone training, FBI Command and Executive Leadership Institute School, advanced DWI detection and enforcement training. We are continually looking for advanced training which is reimbursed by the state or federal government to enhance the skills that engage in our staff in their careers, which has the effect of long-term retention. In regards to Operation Stone Garden, we have intensified our patrol presence in the Hachita area. On the forest grants, we have begun our contract patrol operations in the National Forest areas as directed by the United States Forest Service, enhancing both presence and safety of those who are recreating there. We want to make both residents and visitors feel safe and encourage their continued enjoyment of the recreational opportunities our county has to offer. In regards to traffic safety, we will soon be operational for the summer traffic DWI enforcement program in conjunction with New Mexico State Police and other local law enforcement agencies to be present and actively reduce the number of impaired drivers on our roadways. On others, we continue our active involvement in such programs such as Step Up Juvenile Justice Committee, the DARE planning and operations. In drug court, we have one to police radios to the surveillance officers, as well as one to the Cliff Security School officer. In High Desert and Marine Society, we've also loaned a police radio to the Animal Control Officer Howard and the local DWI Planning Council that we continue to go to. In regards to cross-commissioning, we have initiated and completed an MOU with Buena County, resulting in deputies from both agencies being fully cross-commissioned. We're in the process of the same with Hidalgo County. I was contacted by the Leander County Sheriff about the possibility of a blanket MOU for New Mexico border counties for this purpose, and that effect would be huge cooperative agreement, which will extend ours and their resources at minimal to no cost. And in regards to Hidalgo County, I'll be meeting with the Executive Secretary this afternoon, and we'll be signing the MOU with Hidalgo County. That's the end of my report. We'll stand for any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you for that comprehensive report. I do have questions about staffing. So I think I understood you've hired 4.
That's correct, sir.
And so now how many are you down?
6.
Okay, that's a lot better than your last report last month.
Yes, sir, most definitely.
I just want to make the statement that I, again, continue to hear, and it's something you probably can't say, the word morale, because you don't want to be boasting about your department, but I'll brag for you. I continue to hear from the community, from the officers and others about the high morale in the sheriff's office. And it's good to hear, because I think that'll lead to long-term employment. People want to stay there, people want to come, so it's good to see these changes, and I want to thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sheriff Holmes. Mr. Turieta.
Mr. Chair, board member, I'm flying in an adrenaline rush right now, and can I just yield it to Steve, and I can do it afterwards if it's okay with the board? Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, currently we're at 90.73% of the 2018 property tax collections. We've been staying busy with other things besides, as you can see, there's only 70,000 for the county's portion of what we collected. But during the time period, and that should be, there's a typo down at the bottom, that should be through the 12th of June, the $24 million that we've collected. So we're still awaiting the Taylor grazing allotment and the PILT. Hopefully will come in this fiscal year. So that's basically where we're at right now. So stand for any questions.
Do you know off the top of your head how much that Taylor Grazing Act money is?
It's not, it's between 20, varies from 20 to 30,000.
Okay.
That's not a lot.
Thanks.
When does that typically come in?
So then,
When does that typically come in?
usually comes in May, but for some reason, we're talking to the state to see what's going on, what they can.
It comes from the feds to the state and then from the state to us, correct? Thank you.
Yeah, it's just,
No magic hat today, huh?
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. For starters, I just want to thank the county chairman, board members, elected officials, and I look out in the crowd, I see Michelle Gissy, Ron Troy, Krista from the Forest Service, and now we have a new individual, it's just actually Nicole. She's going to be probably introducing herself on public input. These are the big guns when it comes down to the trails and open space and greenways, and I just want to thank you guys. Oh, Desiree, I'm sorry. I apologize. She actually worked in the assessor's office for a while, did a fantastic job, and it's nice to see all you guys out there. For starters, I just wanted to state that I did have a little bit of an adrenaline rush. I just got off the radio and had the wonderful opportunity to interview the Coppertown Clown from Arizona, and the guy is a gas. He's funny, he's exciting. I don't know who went to the rodeo yesterday, but today I'm going to the rodeo. That's all. You might see me in a pink tuxedo, but he was hilarious. It was a lot of fun. It's really nice to see such a lot of people being involved here in this community, not only for economic development, but just our own people here in this wonderful community. I see homeboys like our chairman, our commission, our commissioners. It's just a wonderful feeling to have these beautiful people. And Billy, growing up in the church with him, I just can't complain. So I just had to take a little bit of time just to breathe, and I thank everybody for being here in the county commission. Well, for starters, I actually got evaluated by the state of New Mexico under property tax division, and next week, the next county commissioners meeting, I have to give my county report to the commission from the assessor's office, and that's one of the things that the reviews and the comments, and I would like to state that I'm probably the only elected official in the state that we get evaluated by the state. It's a 2-day grueling, 2 or 3-day grueling event where they check our valuations, our sales ratios analysis, and let me tell you, Desiree, you did a fantastic job on the sales ratios analysis, and that's about a 30-page document that we have to answer, we have to add. It is just quite amazing. And Doug, sorry about Doug Dexter, I missed you over here on this side. But on one of the reviews comment that I got dinged on is the annual report to the county commissioner was not provided at the evaluation, because I usually do it in June before the budget. Maybe I might get an employee or two, but I actually need to bring that up, so I will have a PowerPoint presentation about what the assessor's office, where we are on our sales, what's going on with our building permits, our valuation, state assess, and by the way, on our state assess properties, we're going to be 15 days late, and what happens there is they sent out their notice evaluation late, so we got until the 28th of June to file all our state assessed property valuation assessment to send to the Department of Finance and Administration. I do want to thank my Chief Deputy Matthew James, that he actually will put the numbers together, we'll sit together, and you will have a final number coming up the end of June to Department of Finance and Administration. Actually, it does go to DFA. First, it goes to Property Tax Division. There's quite no discrepancies on a lot of issues that I'm going through, but I will kind of in detail break it down next week, so bring a lunch. Just joking, Chris. I didn't mean to say that. But it's going to be an extensive breakdown of what's going on in the assessor's office. Other than that, we're right in the middle of our reviewing our protest period, and we do have over 170 protests here in Grant County. I do want to thank my staff more than anything else, because they've done a fantastic job. And once again, with Desiree, anytime we look at a piece of property, we comp it out, put it on the books, because this is the only time that I can actually put anything on the books that what it's actually worth. On a sale of property, on a transfer of property, we can actually do that. So once again, I did get evaluated by the state. I will give a breakdown. and I will give my complete presentation on the next county commissioners meeting. I will be going to Clovis for the New Mexico counties. Do sit on the board of directors, and we'll be attending those meetings, and I hope to see you guys there. I stand for questions.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. That's it, right? So moving on to the next item, public input. During this portion of our meeting, we welcome your suggestions and want to hear your concerns. This is not a question and answer period. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. Any individual who would like to discuss an item in more depth may be requested to be placed on a future agenda. Request forms are available in the county manager's office. Do we have anybody for public input? Sir. If you can come on up, state your name, sir, please.
My name is Jeff Boyd. I live in Grant County. Button on the, oh, here. Look, you can hear me now? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Jeff Boyd, resident of Grant County, just north of Silver City. I'm here to show support for the comprehensive master trails plan in Grant County. This region is sitting on gold mine, but not the kind you dig out of the ground. Outdoor recreation is a huge growth industry in this country. Our three of our neighbor states, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, are focusing on outdoor recreation as a tourist draw and moneymaker. Not only do outdoor enthusiasts flock to these states, but large companies build offices and facilities there because outdoor recreation opportunities help attract the kind of employees they are seeking. Grant County has the Gila Forest and wilderness areas that has huge potential draw. The Continental Divide Trail goes through the center of the county, and the CDT is not yet as busy as the Appalachian Trail or the Pacific Coast Trail, but it has a great potential to get closer to those levels. But like all other trails in the area, it needs work. There are many great places that I've been to in this county and in the nearby region that are relatively unknown, hard to find, and hard to reach. I think a master trails plan will help our county become a destination for outdoor enthusiasts, bring a lot more money to the area. Just a quick little example, I don't know how many people realize that the Rhodes Scholar organization staged 2 trips to the Silver City area this spring, and they're planning a couple more next year. These were nearly a week in length, each one, and they stayed at local hotels, ate at local restaurants, brought a lot of money, a lot of income, tax income to the area. That, I believe, is just the tip of the iceberg. We could do an awful lot more and bring an awful lot more activity here. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anyone else?
I think most of you know me. I'm Carmen Gonzalez. I have been in the community, helping community since 1968. So I am very concerned with newspapers that I've been reading concerning the hospital. At this time, I am a community hospital member, and we had before a really bad situation. You hire somebody that is doing good and is improving the hospital. And she invited you yesterday, that's what I wanted to do, to invite you to go and see. When somebody tells you something about the hospital, I do go and I do talk to the CEO of Mrs. Arias concerning the problems. Now, things are changing, and I think we need to help her, and the community needs to go, I think, and see what is going on. Let me see what else I have to say. Okay, I was concerned about the sale of the hospital, and as you well know, I work very hard to keep the hospital sold. I still hear that there is, in your minds, hoping to sell it. This is a community hospital, and the community owns the hospital. You represent us. Please, think about it and help us to do better with the hospital, and you have the opportunity to help us. Anything that you need, anybody can call me. When they call me and tell me what's going on, I go to the CEO and I present the problems. There's times that they don't say the right thing, but you can find out. And that was my concern, the sale of the hospital. And as Mr. Rieta said, we have a beautiful community. Yes, we do. We do. A lot of community members cannot talk to you because they're embarrassed or whatever, so they call me to come and say things, okay? And that's why I'm here. But please consider what you're thinking about and help us in the hospital. Go visit, and I know that you will like it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else for public input?
Good morning, Commissioners and all. I'm Carol Martin. I live in the Burroughs, and I have 4 items. I would like to officially welcome Nicole Karen. She's with the Continental Divide Trail Coalition and representing our gateway cities. She'll be based in Silver City, but working with the gateway cities along the trail. There's more than 14 of them now. So welcome. She'll be coordinating trail days for us. The second thing, I would like to thank the commissioners for chip sealing Red Rock Road and Mangus Valley Road. Thank you for that. It's beautiful. I also support the Grant County Trails Plan. That's the third thing. The fourth thing is a concern that I need to share with you. I live in the Burroughs and I work closely with the Continental Divide Trail Coalition. About 14 years ago, the trail was being built close to the Burrough Mountains. The Continental Divide runs along the Little Burrough Mountains, and the mine was approached for a trail easement, but because of the proximity of the Tyrone mine, it was a no-go. So the Forest Service and the Coalition planned a 30-mile reroute along the Big Burrough Mountains, and that ended at the Forest Service property within less than a mile west of Highway 80, where the Continental Divide Trail would eventually cross the highway and connect to the already built trail on the east side of 180, then on up to LS Mesa, just north of Bear Mountain, and then the hikers would come into Silver City on Little Walnut. In the meantime, Silver City became the first gateway city along the planned 3,100-mile trail. This year, the BLM and New Mexico state easements were settled, and the 180 connection work was scheduled to begin this fall. 7 weeks ago, during the trail days, the BLM was to meet with Freeport-McMoran to sign off on their previous verbal easement agreement for the connection across 180. The gateway slammed shut. Freeport said no go for the easement. Keep in mind, this forces the hikers to road walk from Saddle Rock Canyon 20 miles into Silver City. One of the goals of the Continental Divide Trail is to walk on trail, not roads. This affects visitors and local mountain bike and equestrian riders as well. The citizens of Grant County need to be aware of this situation. This year, 350 hikers registered as a through hike. Next year, there will be more, and next year, even more. At this point, there is not a solution for this problem. My hope is there will now be public awareness and some way to make these vital connections happen to open this Continental Divide Trail gateway. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ron Troy. I work with New Mexico Land Conservancy, and I have been working with the Trails and Open Space Coalition here for a few years now. And also, I just wanted to reiterate a couple of things on behalf of the group. We were a bit befuddled about this issue that Carol just brought up, about Freeport-McMoran's denial of that. So anything the county can do to help encourage that diversity of economics in the community and get that CDT trail connection, that would, I would appreciate it. Also, I want to take this opportunity to just really thank the county for their consideration of this comprehensive trails and open space plan, and thank some people that have really been helpful to get the coalition to the point it is. I'm glad Nicole's here with CDT. The CDT and the Greenways have been meeting for a long time in this community because of their AmeriCorps, and pulling this group together with a really generous donation from the Lohr Foundation. We were able to, I think, bolster that effort and pull the community together with a huge amount of help from Raul Turrieta and some of his staff with respect to mapping and kind of pulling all this mapping effort together that was being done at University of New Mexico, CDT, the city. We all had our set maps. That is now in one point with this Gila Trails and Open Space Coalition. You can now go to that group, and we have all of those maps in a collective kind of one-shot stop instead of everybody duplicating these efforts. But anyhow, that was in a large part due to Raul's help with his staff. Tracy Burnsett and now Desiree Liska have been really kind of just been the horsepower behind that. Can't say enough about that. Also, I really appreciate Ms. Webb's approval of Misha Lariche's help on this comprehensive plan, helping to write these grants that have now pulled in this National Park Service effort that we have now. Again, that was part of this Gila Trails and Open Space Coalition. We have 70 member stakeholders. They range from mountain bikers to road bikers to hikers to motorized users to the various mayors in the community and whatnot, the Healthy Kids, Healthy Communities. So we have all of these folks as part of this to serve the underserved as well as folks using the CDT going from Mexico to Canada. So as part of that comprehensive plan, really hopeful that you will include and really work side by side with this group that has been shedding a lot of blood and sweat into this effort, and really recognize that there is this group in place, and utilize that group to assist, if not be with you every step of the way as you do this comprehensive plan if you choose to go that route. Also want to thank Harry Brown and Commissioner Alicia Edwards, who go out and they're part of this group. They meet with us monthly. They make it a point to go out on these trails, understand these trails and the issues around them, and travel to Boulder, Colorado, to economic forums, to Las Cruces, to economic forums that are just purely focused on this recreation component as part of diversifying our economics in this town. So just wanted to recognize all those folks and appreciate you guys considering this Trails and Open Space Recreation Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else for anything on public input?
All right, good morning. My name is Martin Pearson, and I'm here today as one of the members of the Gila Hiking Bike, a member of the Silver City Trails and Open Space Committee, and also as a representative of the Silver City Cycling Group. I'm here today with an interest in hearing Marcy's report regarding the Trails and Open Space Master Plan, and on behalf of all those groups, would like to thank the Commission for being willing to consider it. As somebody who frequents trails and enjoys outdoor specific events, I can tell you that there are many people in our community who are traveling to Arizona, to Colorado, across New Mexico, to places who've taken on their own outdoor development. And what I can tell you is that no place that's considered a destination has got there without being willing to take a step like this and look at developing its outdoor usage. So on behalf of those groups, what I'd really like to ask, more on behalf of the Silver City Cycling Group than anything, that the Commission really consider working with local groups such as ours to consider how the development of these trails can go forward in a way that considers all user groups. The Silver City Cycling Group has several members who are out fairly regularly doing trail work, volunteer for the greater sort of maintaining of our trail systems, but there's only so much that I see that you can ask of a volunteer group. And so with that, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what Marcy has to share, you guys. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any public input? Thank you. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, approval of minutes, B for May 16, 2019 regular meeting, C for May 29, 2019 special meeting.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes for May 16th and May 29th.
I second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Brown. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. New business, going on to Grant County Trail, priority interest expressed by selected community, business leaders and users. Marcy?
I've never had one die. I just made a striking comment about a Mac would never do that. iPhone's died. Now, my iPhone, my older iPhone, not an older iPhone, I've dropped on it 100 times and it's still not wrong. My new one?
Yeah, no, that was really good to go. Yeah. Well, that's some of the questions. It's just fulfilling the statutory changes, right? Basically.
Yeah, but it's just that we have to...
Not changes. The numbering is the changes.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Misha Lodge. I'm the Planning and Community Development Director. Marcy and I put together a little a slideshow for you here. That's the computer issue that I have. So I'll just begin with that. So the county, with support from the Gila Trails and Open Space Coalition, like you heard, requested the National Park Service Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program for help. We wrote a grant. That is a technical assistance grant, no monetary value to that. Well, there's monetary value, but no money specific. We were awarded a 1-year assistance with extension available. The request for planning assistance for the comp trails and outdoor recreation plan, the focus was very broad, and that's what led to the qualitative surveys. And these qualitative surveys that Marcy will be going over as we get further into the presentation helped to determine the trail planning needs for the area. There's a lot going on in our community already. So current planning efforts, there's the Forest Collaborative Coordination, which is the Southwest New Mexico Collaborative. Got the Silver City Trail Committee working on trails within the Silver City area, and there's the Trails Master Plan. Better Cities Economic Development has a trails aspect to it. And Southwest New Mexico Council of Governments has quite a bit going on. I don't know what additional grant requests are already out there. The survey methodology, we got community leaders, mayors, the U.S. Forest Service, Council of Governments, county board, the board chair, county manager. We reached out to user groups, hiker, equestrian, mountain, road, trail maintenance, alternative transportation, conservationists, dirt bike riders, ATVs, and UTVs. So with this, we're trying to make sure that we're looking at all of the user groups. You know, we're not trying to exclude anybody from getting involved in this master planning effort. Because if you look at the economics behind it, the ones that I see working in other states have definitely taken the initiative to try to include everyone. They seem to get better collaboration, get the groups working together, and get consent much easier on different trails. You know, some of them are multi-use. Sometimes it's determined that, you know, no, that makes more sense to just be, you know, this user group or that user group. So by bringing those groups together, I think that we can make that happen here also. And then business leaders. We had Western Michigan University, we had representatives from the Hawkville, Heel Hiking Bike, Roaches Association, and the Chamber of Commerce. With that, I'm going to have Marcy go ahead and go through some of the survey.
Good to see some of you again. As Misha had mentioned, there were qualitative interviews. We spent about 40 hours, a lot of time, individually contacting different folks from those 3 different groups. We, in total, did 28 interviews, and of 33 that we contacted, so we had an 85% success rate. Our interviews lasted between an hour and a half. Thanks to everyone here in the audience and commissioners, that had participated. It was very valuable information. We're briefly covering some of what we captured, but if the county moves forward with planning, this information will be incorporated from the actual surveys. There was a total of 8 questions, so I'm only going to be covering 2 of those 8 for the essence of time. One of the questions were, what were the top 3 things needed to make outdoor recreation in Charles better in Grant County? And up on the screen there is verbatim some of the responses that were received. But I think the takeaway, and this is also verbatim, is that there's a lot of solo partnerships going on, but they're not working together, and it's just a product of where you're at right now. Misha had mentioned all of the collaborative planning happening between the Southwest Collaborative Planning that the Forest Service is guiding, with a lot of input from all the partners, with Silver City having their own trail committee, with mountain bikers and road bikers having their own committees. It's kind of a really critical time for Grant County to determine what type of community you want and what you want to be in the future. I've had the privilege of working with communities in Utah. I've worked with Moab over the past 20 years. I watched their growing pains. It was very painful. And personally myself, I'm from Western Pennsylvania, a coal mining community that was closed. I watched my family and friends move from that area, so I have a passion from both the recreation side and personally knowing what happens when the economy is not diversified. What I've heard over and over in the surveys is that it's time to diversify the economy for the future, and from what I've heard is that, and what I know, is you have amazing resources. There's resources here that no one else in the United States has. People are coming to your community, whether it be for motorized recreation or non-motorized recreation. So you have the opportunity to determine how you want your future with county leadership. Besides things that were mentioned up here, there's quite a few territorial issues, solar partnerships. There's a lot of ground energy. There's a lot of great people doing a lot of great things. The Gila Open Space Committee, Trails and Open Space Committee is doing amazing things. They have great partners on there that really are rolling their sleeves up and doing the actual trail maintenance. That energy can be harnessed as part of the planning process. And there's so many groups working on trails that there's a lot of confusion. Even as I went through to do my interviews, by the end of my first day, I was here for 3 full days. By the end of the first day, I was told a number of times that I'm focusing solely on motorized recreation. So there is a really big need for coordination and collaboration, and that may be a need now for the county to take some leadership in that. Another one of the top 3 things that came out in the qualitative interviews was the need for planning. Yes, there are some plans that are sitting on shelves right now, but they may not have the buy-in that they need. Then they definitely should be used as ground going forward as the premise of future planning. Also up on that slide, minus the last bullet there, is specifics from what came out of the qualitative interview. So 2 people mentioned comp plan necessities, the need for the state and the federal agencies to recognize planning and the importance of outdoor rec and trails here. You guys can read through that, but something someone said is that you have to be local to know where the cool places are to ride. And I think to market this area for economic development and broadening the economy, you really need to have trails and maps, which came up in these surveys as well. And as Misha mentioned, trails need to be inclusive to meet the needs of all users. That's what areas like Crested Butte, Moab, Silverton, Durango, all those areas that surround you have done. And then it's really a need to develop different skill levels so that people aren't bored when they come here, or if one individual in a family wants to do motorized, the other one wants to do non-motorized, which is really common in an area like Moab. They have the ability to do whatever they want. And oftentimes, people that travel with, for example, recreational vehicles, they also do motorized and non-motorized activity, and they cross between those lines. So providing for both those uses are important. And the third thing that came out of the top 3 things needed to make outdoor recreation trails better in Grant County was the need for funding. And of course, that's one of the key things to make a trail plan and implementation successful. Again, these are verbatim from the interviews. Lots of support by the county and city and recognition that it could be a significant part of the economy. And I think that would be one of the things that would drive this planning. Funding really has to be a priority. Collaborative funding needs to be collected to support a position in the future, that is. So based on, and I'm here to answer your questions too, but for the interest of time, we tried to keep this presentation brief. But the recommendations based on the 8 questions and the top 3 things needed that people responded to, the 28 people that were surveyed, was the county needs to provide some type of leadership, would be a recommendation, given where you're at right now. And at least at the minimum, have someone that helps coordinate amongst the trail user groups. So Silver City's trail committee is running right now, and then there's the Gila Trails and Open Space Committee that Desiree and Ron is assisting with and running. So the recommendation is for the county to provide leadership and allow someone to work with those other committees and coordinate that oversight at a county level. Because you right now don't have a lot of focus amongst the groups, and it's definitely not for their lack of trying. It's because we don't really have a functioning county level leadership at this point, which I know it takes money and funding, but that's one of the recommendations. And then very specifically, a number of individuals recommended a county-approved trail committee that would also have a person that would serve as a liaison to commission and someone that would be a liaison to the city trail committee. That would greatly improve communication amongst the groups. And also someone that's a liaison to the current Gila Trail and Open Space Committee as well. And that committee would plan for all types of recreation. Also, if moving forward, the geographic scope has not been addressed. That is one of the things creating a lot of confusion amongst different groups. Silver City, obviously, Silver City, that's the only one that has a really defined scope of work right now. So defining what that is, including the mining districts and how that connects to Silver City, is when interviewing the elected and the appointed officials, almost all of them mentioned the need to connect the mining district to Silver City and in between the mining district. That was a common theme, no matter where they came from in the county. And if you want continued support from our program, we work statewide. Also, yesterday I was just in El Paso helping them with some trail planning. We can renew this assistance, but a new refined request will need to be submitted to our program by the 30th of this month. So if that's something that you want to pursue, that needs to be refined, because as of right now, Misha covered it, but we were requested to do a trail and comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. That's not something that we'd be able to do and have any success at, given how broad that focus is. So anyway, a refined request to our program, and then after that, a defined process and timeline, and if a county-approved committee is put together, what each person will do as their role on that committee. So those are our recommendations for moving forward. Both Misha and I can answer questions. Misha, if you want to come up here. And feel free to ask what you want. We just, again, tried to keep this as brief as we could, but we know it's an important topic.
Thank you. So, you probably know I already support the idea of the county providing staff support to this effort and leadership to coordinate groups. But I wonder if you all have thought more specifically of, for example, how many hours per week we'd have to think of committing. As my vision is, this is not a full-time job. It's added to someone's other jobs because I don't think we have enough going on to justify 40 hours a week. But I guess I want to hear your reaction to that as well.
At different counties, we've worked with either county administrators or the staff like Misha, county directors. The support that we need in moving forward with the partners is helping organize those trail committees, putting out official minutes, and maybe doing things like GIS. In this case, that may not be needed, but I would estimate if it had to be per week, we really wouldn't have meetings more than every other month at most, because we want to make sure that things are accomplished between meetings, and once a month is too often a frequency. Given that, I mean, I'd say 5 to 7 hours per week.
Okay, and the skills that person would have to have sounds to me like essentially meeting facilitation, good communication skills, good organization skills, but not particularly anything technical. Is that right?
If they move forward with our program, we need someone that's responsive, that does respond to emails. And I mean, I know that sounds simple, but the most successful projects that we have is depending on who we're working with at the county or city level. We would help provide the facilitation. We do need help building out agendas and bringing in the local stakeholders, because something that our program does that's different than the consultant is that we're collaboratively based. So that's a very different picture. It does take longer to go that route, but the hope and the goal is to get a more collaborative plan that folks can buy into at the end of the planning process. And I would guess that this specific planning process, given the complexities of what's going on, would take about 1.5 years from a collaborative standpoint, and a meeting once every 2 to 3 months with a specific staff person reporting back to commission on the progress of those meetings following when they occur.
So it sounds quite a bit like what the Gila Trails and Open Space Coalition is currently doing with facilitators, starting with Tracy and then with Desiree. Would you say there's a significant difference between what you're proposing and what that coalition is currently doing?
Because of the level of planning going on, I've worked in this position for 15 years. I've been in the federal government for 28. I have never seen this much planning going on in a small geographic area that we have. Due to that complexity and the different conversations going on, that's the slide of what's happening right now. That graphic, and I know Krista's here from the Forest Service, but because of the Southwest Collaborative happening now, and Ms. Webb and Misha are at those meetings, they could probably speak better to me than me to those meetings. It is very complex. There's a lot going on, and there is a really big difference between a user-driven planning process and a county-funded or county-sponsored process. And the same with the city. The city's doing their own process, and that's city-driven. So yes, there is a big difference. I definitely think that there is a need for trail maintenance. I didn't cover it in this survey results. They have been doing an amazing job, Bob and others here, with trail maintenance on the ground. That needs to be prioritized amongst the agencies. But some agency, whether it be Forest Service, who just doesn't do those types of things. We don't have a park unit here. They don't do those types of things. So it defaults basically to the county, in my experience over the past 20 years doing this, to be able to provide the leadership. But the Trail and Open Space Committee is an integral part of the planning process and would need to be incorporated into a more holistic planning process moving forward. Does that answer your question?
But only partly, and maybe we should leave a lot of the details. I'm trying to develop a vision of what we're being asked to consider now in concrete terms. And a lot of that, I think, was more far-reaching than what we're being asked to consider now. For example, I would leave maintenance out entirely, right? Who's responsible for what maintenance where, I think should be developed in the plan, but it's nothing we're going to be able to consider right now. And the Southwest New Mexico Collaborative, I think, is introducing an unnecessary complexity. That's its own entity, most of which has nothing to do with trails and open space. There's one, outdoor recreation square feeding in there. I don't think we need to get concerned that there's this huge complexity. I think we need to focus on the fact that there are a lot of individual efforts going on with trails, a lot of individual needs. The needs of the mining district are quite different than the needs of the city. And a county-sponsored process, as you put it, would coordinate those needs so that the end product makes sense, fits together, it's rational, right? It's not all independent and uncoordinated. That's at least the way I see the role of the county in coordinating these things. Does that make sense?
It does. The other possibility is for the county to come up with about $100,000 for a consultant to actually put this together to coordinate amongst these different groups. And I know it's a lot of money, but that's the two different processes we've seen, either county-led, that's going to lead to success, or a consultant-led. And I mentioned I was in El Paso yesterday. They brought in a consultant. They paid $100,000. Following that, though, there's still a need to prioritize. So, of course, they're calling us in now. They have this plan that's there. They don't know how to implement it. So I suggest that the two ways that you would be most successful is either coming up with $100,000 for a consultant to walk in, do a very specific scope of work for trail development, and working with the existing committees. And the work that Ron and Desiree has done is amazing. The ground truthing, it's really key. It's a very big component of inventorying. The one difference I would have with you is that in meeting with the Forest Service staff, they really are anxious to have prioritized trail construction. They said they would be a big partner in this. I'm going to put this on the spot. Is that true? Yes. I think that right now...
Do you even want the county to prioritize their trail work?
They need someone to help facilitate which trails are a priority as part of the planning process, but that would allow the Gila Trail and Open Space Committee to do what they'd like to do, which is trail maintenance on the ground. Instead of spinning their wheels in planning, they can actually roll up their sleeves and get a few things done. And I don't know if that kind of categorizes things correctly about what the Gila and Trails and Open Space Committee really wants to do at the end. Desiree?
Larger conversation, but I think figuring out what our needs are.
Can you come up to the mic again here?
Desiree Liska, Opening Spaces and Facilitator for the Gila Trails and Open Space Coalition. We understand that this grant initial application was too broad in scope, but that's what we were hoping to get the facilitation and the assistance from the NPS. I wouldn't speak for all 50 to 70 stakeholders by saying we just do trails maintenance. We want to preserve what we have, maintain what we have, and better them. And working with many, many, many folks using our map so we can prioritize, so we can do maintenance. but also try to get connectors to the CDT to do work with other territorial issues. So I think it's a little bit more. Ron?
Yeah, I'd like to add to that too, in that as part of the Gila Trails and Open Space Coalition, I think really the driver is maintenance is just one small segment of what we're trying to do in that group. Kind of to Commissioner Brown's point, that is just a minor portion of that. It's a hard portion, and we've got a lot of great volunteers in this community that have been doing that. Where we have been lacking is where are we going, and how do we combine all of these efforts into one cohesive effort at a larger scale? The county being a stakeholder in that, the city is a stakeholder, the horsemen's group is a stakeholder, the mountain bike, you have all of these stakeholders in that. We need a plan going forward, and what we do as a group is we put all of our needs on a board. And again, there's 30 people in this room potentially at this time, and we say, what are the most important things in this community as far as trails and open space? That group defines the number one need as facilitation, hence Tracy and Desiree as part of the Gila Trails and Open Space Coalition. That was the number one need, is pulling that group together, defining, getting the minutes and recording all of those needs at that time. The number two need, as far as that group identified, was this comprehensive trails and open space plan. Whether that was this group coordinating that, or whether that was a county, and what that geographic scope was still to be defined, hence why we wrote the grant to pull in the Park Service to help us define that geographic scope, to go out there, get the public input we needed in the community, so we didn't step on landmines as we went forward with this comprehensive plan. And in saying that, this is a very altruistic group, and it wouldn't be the real, I think, complication in this right now is this other group, and motorized is a huge issue. Motorized comes into play here and becomes a divisive. I mean, it's just the reality of this community right now. And I think this group is very altruistic. They know there's a need to include motorized travel in this plan. But we don't want the motorized community to go out there and start doing things right now until we have a plan with respect to signage, enforcement, noxious weed. I mean, there's so many components to this, and that is what we see as kind of underlying elements of this comprehensive plan. So it's really complex, and that's why I say use this group that has been doing this, writing these grants, reconciling these grants, doing invasive species control, water works in this town as far as how do we deal with water needs on these trails. There's so many issues. And you can't cover all of these in this comprehensive plan. As Marcy said, it's a $100,000 deal potentially, the time and effort that it takes. But you have 30 people sitting in a room right now every month that know tons and tons of these issues and have been putting their blood and sweat into these ideas that we're talking about right now. So anyhow, I hope we don't create another committee and more distractions from that group that knows a lot of these issues. So
I just want to comment that we have not been successful with user-driven plans. There needs to be some leader that steps up from the local government or other body, could possibly a city, county, or just contract. That's neutral third party. I think given your very sensitive issues here, outdoor recreation components, wilderness issues that other places don't have, you would be well to think about some type of structure that a government entity would help define.
Thank you. Any further questions?
It's not so much a question, but it's a comment. I was speaking with one of the Silver City councilors yesterday, and right now they have their issue of allowing ATVs in the city, but we discussed the broader sense. because they're here to stay. And instead of fighting them, maybe we embraced them, and it came to trails. And it says instead of having it be a divisive issue, it's something that could be embraced, and we could incorporate them into all the users, such as the hikers, the bikers, the equestrians. So, because there's great potential to bring people in, and when you fill up your hotels and your restaurants, that brings money into the coffers, and Silver City's a great winner, and us as a county also. So, we do see that great need. As a matter of fact, us as a commission, we've even talked about a Parks and Recreation position that could help address some of these issues and help maybe do some of the planning and coordination. So it is something that's recognized by us, and we're hoping to maybe this is a partner that we can get with and do something about it. Thank you.
I mean, I agree. The most successful projects in counties have a position created, a full-time position. I don't think that myself or MISO was going to jump to that recommendation without a plan, but honestly, you've gotten there, and absolutely, you'd be a lot more successful with a full-time position, focusing in on that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes. So, I'm trying to mentally put everything that we've heard and everything I've been hearing over the last couple of years around this topic. The idea of a comprehensive outdoor trails and recreation plan was something that I came to this position with a great deal of interest in, and my vision of a trails and open space master plan was taking into consideration the fact that there are multiple different kinds of users, both motorized and non-motorized, and that if we didn't have some kind of comprehensive trails plan, but what we would have is a lot of disconnected decision-making that we would never be able to close the door on. I think what's happening here right now is actually underscores that feeling for me. We still don't have a basis by which to make decisions. And to me, that comprehensive plan is a key part of that. And I agree with Commissioner Salas that I think that, for one thing, I think the thing he said very specifically is motorized recreation is here to stay. It's part of our community. We have to recognize that. We have to recognize that if we don't have a comprehensive plan on how to address that our outdoor recreation may become only motorized. And it could be the opposite of that as well, that if we don't have a comprehensive plan that recognizes that we have multiple users, then we could end up with a comprehensive plan that does not include motorized travel. The other piece of that is, it isn't just Silver City and the mining district that are part of this, it's the entire county and our surrounding areas. Silver City has the amenities, the hotels and the restaurants, things like that. The county has the amenities that we're talking about in terms of trails and access to the forest and the wilderness area and all that stuff. So it is a very complex set of issues that we're looking at. And my goal was to actually hire, and it says right in this summary of what we need, is to hire a professional facilitator and or coordinator who understands trail planning. And what that means is it isn't up to any one user group, or it isn't up to a county employee to do that. It is up to a professional who understands trails and outdoor recreation use, both motorized and non-motorized, and can guide us all, with all of our different interests, into a plan that benefits the entire county, both for the kinds of amenities that we're all here for, but also to diversify our economy. I don't think that can be done by anyone who is currently employed by the county. No, not picking on you, Misha, but I don't think that's your expertise. And my interest really is in somebody who has the expertise to understand the complexity of our issues and also has the capacity to bring a lot of competing interests together and create a plan that meets the needs of everyone in the community.
This is the consultant version, is that correct?
That is correct. Now, that is not to say that I don't think there shouldn't be an appointed county trails group or, anything like that. But I also think we need to really take into consideration what already exists and how we're going to integrate all of the different stakeholders that exist. That was not a question, was it? So I guess what I'm going to say then, in conclusion, and this is, there will be a question at the end of this, I promise. I really appreciate the effort that has gone into this. I appreciate the amount of time and effort on the interviews. I think all of the information that has been gathered is extremely valuable. But I'm not sure that what we have at this moment is a way forward. And so I guess my question is, given that it still seems to me like it's pretty muddy, how are we going to move forward from here? We don't have a lot of time to keep discussing the fact that we need a comprehensive plan for this. We need to be on the front end of this. There's going to be money through the outdoor rec, the newly formed outdoor recreation and tourism thing at the office, thank you, at the state level. We need to figure out what we're doing. And I'm not sure this does that. So, how can it? There's the question.
There you go. I'm somewhat curious about other folks who haven't been enmeshed in this trails and open space discussion as intensively as we have. What your thoughts are after this presentation? Do you see it as muddy as Alicia and I are feeling as far as our way forward, or do you now have a picture of how we should go ahead?
I think, speaking for myself, number one, I really appreciate all the hard work that you've done. And if I misspeak, I think I'll be told by our commissioners here, but, I think we're all pretty much on the same track, the thing of outdoor activity, and that's a lot of part of, Bataan Park and what we've been talking about. This presentation was great. I think that I tend to agree with Commissioner Edward Brown as far as, we need to condense it in a way. It is a little muddy, but, I agree with Commissioner Salas, have somebody in there and maybe when the time comes and if we can put somebody in there and hire somebody that have expertise in both areas, not recreation but also outdoor. So, taking all this in, I'm really excited and I'm really looking forward to seeing that final plan and what's happening. Probably didn't answer your question. I'm still soaking it in.
No, that's fair.
Well, I just wanted to say that I agree with Commissioner Edwards that I don't think that there's anybody here that has the capacity to formulate that comprehensive plan or the expertise. And I think that it's something that, it's time to take some action. Now, whether the county has $100,000 to put into it, that I wouldn't know. But is this new department going to be able to help us with any of this? So I think that we should have action as quickly as possible. As far as a member or creating a Parks and Recreation person, they could just be part of the cooperation of the county to keep on doing these things. But, because I feel that the plan would be the one and done, it's going to tell us what to do. But then the day-to-day activities, the day-to-day function of this is going to be up to some kind of central committee or a part of some government entity, whether it be us, the cities, or something. So I do agree with that.
I would love to hear from the county manager.
Yes, she's giving me a look, so
I would just like to say that I recognized a long time ago that we needed to diversify our economy here. The first thing that jumped off the page at me was outdoor recreation. I do a lot of reading. I get that we have the perfect opportunity in front of us. Misha and I work very hard at looking at different opportunities. We sit in a lot of meetings, soaking things in. I agree. The whole trails piece is very muddy. And I understand your concern that this is not what you thought we would get with this process. When I discovered this piece, this technical grant, I thought, well, it's a start. It's a step in the right direction. It's someone coming in with outside eyes that can look at this neutrally, provide some direction. I've gotten some direction out of this. However, I've not been involved in it as much as all of you have, or Commissioner Edwards and Commissioner Brown. However, I do completely understand how important outdoor recreation is, but I look at it as the big picture, and this is one of the things that fits into that. I would say, as part of the Southwest Collaborative, and Misha and Krista can correct me if I'm wrong, I would say 90% of that conversation is around trails and open spaces and outdoor recreation, because we all realize, every partner in that room realizes that that is a huge economic driver to all of this. But we're still at the 30,000-foot view, and how do we put the silos into one instead of everybody working against each other? And so it's turned out to be a very complicated process for me to absorb. However, we're working very hard at that, and I understand that, yes, it's going to take the $100,000 consultant to come in and help us do that. But we're actively looking for that money. I talk to Jeff Steinberg every time I can. Where's this? Where's the Office of Outdoor Recreation? How do we have our foot in the door? How do we get that money? So we're very actively, even though we don't come out and say it, we're very actively working on this. And I am not going to give up. I'm willing to work with everybody that's in this room to move this forward, because I know that we have to diversify our economy, and why not do it when we have it right here in the backyard? So I get the money part. This was simply a step to try to clear up some of the water, especially for me and especially for Misha, and give us some direction moving forward. I thought we got that from a staff standpoint, but I get it, and I want to make this work. Truly do.
Just clarify, it sounds like the direction you've gotten building all of this is the consultant route, right? And what I heard was two options. The other option being to continue with a local committee facilitated by a part-time county employee. It's your feeling that we want to go the route that Commissioner Edwards wants to go, which is find the money for a professional consultant who's done this before.
I think we need that expertise, honestly. But, there's a role for everybody in this, and I think we're still trying to figure out who takes what role. And I know that's been a lot of discussion in the Southwest New Mexico Collaborative. Where do these roles and where do we all fit in? And that's where we're trying to get. It's very premature at this point, but, we've only been working on that a few months. And, she just told us it could take a year and a half just to get your plan. So, I know that it's a work in progress, and it's baby steps. And I will tell you from the county's perspective, from my chair, from Lisa's chair, we're working on moving this forward and trying to figure out what is the best plan to pull all of this together and move it forward. And if it's the county taking a leadership role, I'm willing to do that. partnering with everybody else, all of the different user groups, and it takes everybody working together, and everyone has a part in this. Outdoor recreation, when you look at what outdoor recreation is, it's a lot more than trails. It's a lot more than horseback riding. It's hunting, it's fishing, it's all the things that we do here. And so we have to look at that big picture. And when you start looking at that big picture, it's somewhat complicated, and how do we pull it together? But I'm willing to continue to work on that, because I completely think that it's important. We cannot continue to rely on mining carrying us forward. For those of us who have been here, grew up here, you know what happens. And I don't want, as a county manager, I don't want to be put in that position where we're laying off 40% of our workforce. I want to be able to have something that we can rely on that's going to be here. And when we have that asset in our backyard, why not capitalize on it? And I said way too much, but I just want you to know I'm passionate about making this work.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I really appreciated your passion on that. I guess we need to start looking at things.
Yeah, I'd like to weigh in. Just briefly. Yeah, so I was just thinking about, I appreciate your comments, it's more than just trails, but I think I've hiked in 4 states in the last month on trails, so if you think I'm anti-trails guy, that's not the case. And with different family members in some beautiful places. So I use an app called All Trails, and I was surprised when I was in these other states looking that goes to my location, my home location, which is Grant County. I was surprised to see we have a huge number of trails listed here as compared to some of the other places. I thought it was extraordinary the high number we have here of trails and options to hike as compared to some other places. So I guess I agree with Commissioner Edwards. I think we need the expertise and what you said. My question was, where is that money going to come from? I think some of that's been answered. That's the big question. I think I need to say that diversifying the economy means different things to different people. And I haven't seen the hard numbers to show what trails and recreation can do. I've been to a lot of communities where they have that, but it's really, it's a side to the business that already exists there. And Mexico and Grant County included needs to be favorable to business to get that here in the first place. I'm not sure. I'd like to see the economic numbers if there are any supporting recreation. And I think it's hard to come by. And if diversifying our economy means we need to remove existing industries out of the way, which I know it does to some people, that produce significant economic impacts, then I'm concerned about that. So hopefully that's not what it means. But, I'm supportive of going forward with something, but I think it's a matter of where the money comes from.
So one thing I would say, thank you. I appreciate your weighing in on this, Commissioner Barnes. Appreciate your perspective. And I would just tell you that I have a couple of reports that I will share with you that do have data that's not Grant County specific, but it gives data about outdoor recreation. It's the fastest growing segment of the economy in the country right now. And there are many rural communities in the surrounding western states that outdoor recreation has saved. And I'm going to say out loud and upfront so that everybody can hear me, when I say the words diversify economy, that is not at the expense of anything that exists in this community today, and has for a very long time. I think when we talk about diversifying our economy, we have to take into consideration that we have existing economy that we want to grow and enhance.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I consider that obvious. I'm not really sure what you were implying. We can talk about this later. But if you were suggesting that you said you think some people consider diversifying economy to mean shutting down industries,
Well,
that's
I see.
flat wrong. I just want you to know that.
Okay. Well, I wasn't suggesting you, but I think some people do. Yeah, I think,
I don't think anybody thinks that's diversifying economy. There might be folks who are opposed to certain industries and want to see them shut down. I think we've had that discussion. Hopefully you know where I stand now.
okay.
But they're not considering that diversifying the economy. They're considering that.
Well, I
They're
think-
considering that completely transforming.
Yeah, this is not a place we want to go right now, but I think there are certain people who think that using the excuse of diversifying the economy to say pull, let's just use the example that's obvious, beef cattle off of the forest, when that industry provides a $36 million annual economic impact to the state of New Mexico from Grant County beef. And if we think we're going to replace that with trails and recreation, I think we're going to be hard pressed to do that. If you're talking about being inclusive and not needing to protect the land by removing cattle and logging, which has already been basically removed, then if you're talking about being inclusive, then I'm on board.
Thank you.
Commissioner, I would be able to give you some statistics, both locally here from the Gila Cliff Dwellings and the jobs that it provides, and also the Forest Service has data on specific numbers and jobs. I'll make sure I get that to me so that you can share to the commission. Also, I have information from Grand County in Moab, where I work with extensively on their conversion, and there's been a number of studies. And it shows what motorized and what non-motorized brings into their economy locally. And from a standpoint of our organization, I mean, this is great discussion. I'll just throw out to you guys, if you do decide to go with the route of contract and consultants, I'd be happy to help staff write an RFP. I have others that I can share you, and even from Grand County in Moab that I can share with you. I'd be willing to help write grants as well, and support, and with our support letters for applying for those monies to get a consultant.
So you're aware that you have access to federal funding ideas, maybe for...
I do. It's not immediate. It depends on how immediate you want it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I just pulled up the outdoorindustry.org. You can get a lot of the statistics that you're looking for, but I just wanted to share with you, it's in a big orange block on their homepage. 887, and this is nationwide, $887 billion in consumer spending annually. This is on outdoor recreation. Creates $7.6 million or 7.6 million jobs. Creates $65.3 billion in federal tax revenue and $59.2 billion in state and local tax revenue. That's outdoor recreation as a whole in the United States, and it is the fastest growing sector of the economy across the United States. There's some really good facts there, and it's outdoorindustry.org that could answer some of your questions about the economic viability of outdoor rec.
Thank you.
So one more thing, a recommendation in this report was a county-appointed committee. I guess I'm not sold on the idea, so maybe you can tell me, A, what the timing should be for that, and B, why is that better than what we have now?
Currently, there's no visioning, there's no goals for moving forward collaboratively. That committee would actually develop the short and long-term goals that everyone can rally around. It would specifically define goals, that topics that people would work collaboratively to accomplish.
In the timing? Like, would you want to see that before we put out an RFP for a consultant?
I'm kind of hearing that, I think there's some concerns about staff time. I'm sorry I didn't go out so much, but in my mind and my experience, that's I've worked there extensively over the years. One project that I think was very successful in both hiring a consultant and actually getting things implemented within 3 years, which is lightning speed given federal grant timelines, is a county committee that was put together to develop a vision and goals. And in that project, county and myself worked on a very extensive RFP that went out, but with the visioning, that county approved committee saved some money. It doesn't have to be done that way. If the commission feels that they just want to go after a consultant, then the consultant can actually come up with a vision and goals themselves. It'll take some time to have buy-in. So it depends on if you want to contribute staff time to developing that, because that's something that the county will have to be involved with, as well as the Forest Service, who are really key players in this area. So it's kind of back at you guys, what you want to do in your timelines.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's good. Appreciate everybody's input.
Thank you. Moving down to item E, the Town Park Pavilion Project Code.
Mr. Chair, I would like to move that we table this item. Some additional information has come up that we need to explore further, and so I think we need to table this.
Do you have a motion?
Do you want to elaborate? Well, it's nothing you can discuss in that.
Well, no, and I think I think the biggest thing is the quote and the price was not correct, right?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the first area of concern is Classic Industries a rather large clerical error on their quote. So, to the tune of $40,000+ clerical error. So, that's the main reason I'm asking for this to be tabled. We will go back to the drawing board, and I won't be going that route again. And then also we are working with, looking at with the fire marshal and the codes and the original occupancy certificate, what happens when we make renovations, all of those sort of things that are going to play into what we do moving forward, and hopefully will answer some of the questions that came up in the work session. So at this point, staff is not prepared with all of those things that have come to light in the last 48 hours to move forward with this. So we would rather get it right the first time rather than come back and say, sorry, we messed up, this is going to cost us 2 or 3 times what we thought.
In that case, I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have Commissioner Edwards, need a motion to table the Town Park Pavilion Project Code, second by Commissioner Brown. Any discussion?
I do have a comment. So I know that the scope of what we're planning to do, isn't possible right now. But can we entertain the thought of maybe getting access to the building, and making at least the access ADA compliant? We were going to put the money for the improvements as we had been presented before. But would there be a possibility to at least put the concrete apron out there and the ramp to get into the building, which I see is probably the most critical, and then we can wait and take our time and do everything else correct.
So, Commissioner Salas, let me just address that to the best of my understanding, and I see that Jason is here to help me just in case. I had to ask the questions about relating to fire and that sort of thing, and so Mr. Villa made an appointment to consult with the fire marshal out of the pavilion yesterday. I attended that meeting. Do we have the letter from the fire marshal, Jason?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and then if I'm off track or the letter says anything in addition, please feel free to jump in, Jason. So basically, what the fire marshal pointed out is that we have an A3 assembly certification from the state, certificate of occupancy from the state. There are certain requirements for those occupancy certificates, and that when we apply for a building permit from the state to do any of the work on that building, whether it's the outside ramp pieces that you're talking about, because I asked about this specifically when I was there yesterday. Any of the ADA changes that we need to make to that pavilion, inside or outside, require pulling a building permit. And at that point, what CID could do is say we will not issue a building permit unless you agree to upgrade to current code for the entire building. And so even doing the outside ADA improvements that we want to do right now would trigger having the potential of having to do a fire suppression system and a bunch of other things to make the building safe. And so at this point, the idea would be to include, because we don't have the money to do that either, that would just add to that $90,000 cost that we already are considering. And so the thought is to put all of that into the CDBG request and do it all at one time. Because if we do what you asked, and I agree with you, that was my question to the folks that we met with out there. If we just do the outside stuff, but you still have to pull a building permit, which will trigger the state saying you have to do all these other things to fulfill the current code for your A3 certificate of occupation. Did I explain that right, Jacob?
Yes, I think the biggest thing is it could trigger that. We don't know for sure.
Right. And so we need to know the answer to that at some point. But I want to point out one other thing also that I think is important, and a little bit of a digression, but I don't want to forget to say this. So Commissioner Salas said to me the other day something about the 483-phase electric in that building. And that conversation triggered for me concern about the difference in opinion about what was going to happen out there with the heating and cooling. And so the reason I attended the meeting yesterday is because I really wanted to understand why there was a difference of opinion about what was going to happen out there. And what we discovered is that professional electricians have looked at the inside of that building and looked at the panel and said, oh, this is a 200 amp panel, and you can't put in electric heat in this 200 amp panel. They had never looked at the outside 483-phase panel. And so it is quite possible for us to put in heating in that building that would be tied into the 483-phase panel and not have to spend so much on the propane heat. And I just want to say that neither of the professional electricians that zoomed by that were Mason, because it was Mason that helped us figure that out. So I just want to acknowledge that.
I just want to add that, just to put a feather in his hat, actually, Commissioner Salas pointed that out to me some time ago when we were, he showed it to me and described it to me just as you did.
Well, I would just like to make sure that we do contact CID and then get a definite answer on if we can do anything to the outside, even just for ramp. I was glad to see that somebody had taken the steel grate that was balanced on rocks and threw it off to the side, but even just to get the access inside the building. And if we get an answer, CID is the one that does the permitting, they will be able to give us the definite answer.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I will look into that, and going forward, we need to look at contacting the State Fire Marshal's office to come, because we're kind of falling into their jurisdiction as well. So the ETZ zone of the town of Silver City covering that, we'll also look at the State Fire Marshal, because that's what Kyle Marshall recommended. So we'll do that, and I'll look into the CID to see if we touch any part of that, if it would make us come up to the current code. Okay.
So, can I ask a question? So tell us about the electric heat. I think you guys are onto something. Electric heat's not usually very efficient, but at that level, it's my understanding that at that, explain that to me.
So, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, so that there is the 483-phase panel out there, so that is the best way for electric heat because it brings your amp ratings down. So the previous electric heat was brought off of a 200-amp panel inside that is a single-phase 240-120, and so that just drives the amperage up so much. So but since we do have that panel outside, we will be able to come off of that power and provide electric heat instead of propane heat.
Which would be more efficient than
Correct.
propane. Okay.
Yes.
It's the fact that it's, that the 483 phase, so we can all just acknowledge right now that I'm not an electrician.
Sounded like one.
So the issue is that the 483 phase that brings that amperage down is what increases the efficiency of the electric heat, correct? It's inefficient because it's currently in the 200 amp panel that has barely capacity to run it. Is that correct?
To sum it up, that's correct.
I'm skeptical. So what I believe that all addresses is the construction cost, right? If you have lower amperage, it's not going to cost you as much to put in what you need to hook up the electric heat. I've never seen that it would actually reduce your operating costs. And maybe that is what you're saying. I mean, we might be talking about different forms of efficiency. My concern would be long-term operating costs, and I share Commissioner Billings' understanding that in the long term, electric power is more expensive, even if the installation is cheap, because the electric costs are so great compared to propane or even better natural gas.
But we're going to look at a solar panel for that only, right?
That would be enormous, right? I mean, if you're talking about providing space heat, electrical space heat with solar panels, you have to cover more than the roof.
Okay, all right.
If we get it fixed, I consider for the lanterns and there, the candles, you give it up.
So I appreciate the comments. I think I think that all of this discussion is really good for when we actually consider what we're going to do. And so I will just say very quickly that one of the other things that we discussed yesterday was, remind me what the thermostat is with the modules called?
So there, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, there's a few different options we could do, from programmable thermostats to AccuStats to help maintain certain temperatures in there, for, also time clocks, that type of options for turning heat on and off. So we're trying to do the best that we can for not wasting energy.
So there are some things that we can discuss to make that work. Because I was, anti-heating and cooling, and now I'm only anti-heating.
So we're back to down 1 million. To me, just being a new commissioner, sort of disheartening sometimes when we hear, we don't have the money. To me, I think Bucktown Park is tied out to our outdoor recreation, because recreation is diverse. I mean, it's not just about hunting, fishing, biking, hiking. It's about outdoor sports. It's about softball. It's about, horseshoes. It's about basketball. And, we sat here and listened to a great presentation, $100,000. We don't have $90,000. Where do we get $100,000? We don't have $90,000. How can we add someone else to the staff? And be physically responsible. So it seems like a lot of things we do, which is physically responsible, is going out for these grants and looking at some of these things. And, it's a hard lesson for me. I'll be honest with you. It's a real hard lesson, because I think we do owe, our Grant County citizens a little bit more. And I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, because we don't have the money. It is what it is. And I don't want to say or do that thing, but, City Market does get disheartening with, we don't have the money, and all the presentations that we hear are great ideas, and, it takes a little getting used to this, and it takes a little getting used to waiting for these grants and doing that, and I hope that us as a commission can diversify our economy and put money into outdoor trails and outdoor recreation, because it is true, it's coming through, and maybe eventually we don't have money for this, or we don't have money for that, and do that. So that's just my thing on this. It's a little disheartening for this. I'm hoping that we can tackle both sides of the presentation earlier in some of the top part, because to me, I think it ties it together, especially the location.
Well, hopefully all this painful discussion has helped give some direction to where we want to be going. You guys have some ideas, you'll have some ideas to present to move forward.
That part's crystal clear. It's all the roadblocks that we keep.
Right, yeah, that's true.
Any further discussion? So we have a motion, I believe, by Commissioner Edwards to table it, second by Commissioner Brown. No further discussion, I believe, so all those in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay, going into the agreements, consideration of agreement number 8-19-18.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve agreement number 819-18.
I'll second that for discussion purposes.
Okay, we have any discussion?
I had some questions about this the other day, and we figured out, unless Harry tells me right now on the spot that I'm wrong about this, we figured out that the topic that we were talking about in the meeting, look, I can't think of the kind of meeting it was. Anyway.
We know what
yeah. Thank you. Was about presumptive eligibility. Thank you. Gosh, that just fell right out of my head. And we are actually working on being able to do presumptive eligibility for detention center inmates. And Grant County was one of the original counties that was going to be part of that program that we were discussing. And there were some reasons why we weren't, which Charlene can probably better explain than I can, why we did not become one of those. But we are on track with our internal IT and training, etc., to be able to do the presumptive eligibility that I was questioning the other day. And it doesn't need to integrate with Jail Tracker, and so we don't have to worry about that integration. And
thank you for that update.
We did get an email regarding all of this, and there are other counties that are doing both presumptive eligibility and Jail Tracker.
Thanks. Thank you. Any further discussion on that? Okay, no further discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, going on to G, consideration of agreement number 819-24. It's regarding the DWI grant agreement.
I move to approve agreement A1924.
Second that motion.
Second by Commissioner Brown. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consideration of agreement number 8-19-25, dealing with the Grant County Commissioners Rogers Tax Committee.
I move to approve agreement A1925.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Brown, second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to the next item, which is resolutions. It's going to be consideration of amendment to resolution number R-17-40, correcting designations of polling places for the 2018-2019 primary and general elections.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the amendment to resolution number R17-40 so that we can get to the discussion part.
Second for the same purpose.
For second discussion.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So this resolution is pretty much just amending a resolution that was done, that was already done. What we're wanting to do is, as you read the resolution, you have to go ahead and approve our polling locations. We want to make one change. So right now, one of our VCCs, which is the Voting Convenience Center, is located at the Cliff High School. We're requesting, and after a lot of consideration, moving that one precinct, one VCC to the fairgrounds, and it's the exhibit building. After a lot of talks with Charlene, she's been very helpful and she's actually gone above and beyond actually to help us out with this, as making sure that we have what we need. In order to run an election, we do have to have a very stable internet connection. Charlene went and made sure that that was possible, so we've checked out every aspect of it. The location that we've chosen is about 150 feet, maybe 200 feet from its original location, from the schools. The pluses to this is it's a county-owned building. So it does give us a lot of access, it's a lot easier for us to work with as far as, we have maintenance on site, our ITs, we don't have to coordinate with the schools as to, it depends on what's going on, during the school year, because in November, we do have elections there, as to if we're in the gym or if we're in another little room, so we kind of, get bounced around a little bit. Working with IT, there's a lot of setups, they have a lot of firewalls up that we have to deal with, and they let you to get the access there. Also safety issues, we're trying to get away from the schools. I don't think the schools want a lot of extra traffic in there when as far as during school time. So that's the reason for the change of location.
It was mentioned during the work session of potential costs incurred to heat the fairgrounds building. Do we know more about that?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I didn't get that figure. I will. And I don't remember. I had $6,000 in my mind, but I could be confused with another project. But I'll get that figure.
As a one-time cost?
Yes.
And then presumably some smaller amount for fuel?
Correct.
My question, Marissa, is that going to affect some of the other polling places that are at school?
No, we don't have it. That's my only polling VCC that is still located in the school. We are in network VCCs, and that's just, I'm sorry, we do have the San Lorenzo. It shouldn't affect that San Lorenzo, that we've used that location for many, many years, and it works just fine. The Cliff also works fine, but we do have a county-owned building, that we could hopefully use, and, it would be our polling location for many years to come. So I understand, in talking with Charlene, that there was going to be some, cost because of the heating. I figure we're not just strictly using it for elections, correct? It's something like an exhibit building that everybody uses?
The fair board uses it as an exhibit building. It's used once a month for food distribution. There's other activities that go on there, so you're correct, it's not solely for.
So we won't charge you the whole thing.
So if we get it ready, is this something we'll use long term?
Yes.
And it'd be set up for long term?
It would be set up for long term. It's actually, after a lot of consideration, like I said, if we can move out of the schools, it's probably just better to do that. This is kind of a perfect situation. It's not that far from the school. We've had the polling location at Cliff Schools for many, many, many years. We're literally going to move down the street about 150 feet.
Okay, just food for thought here, I guess down the road is and we see for nationally school security is going, maybe down the road we need to take a look at San Lorenzo too and do that, because I feel this with things going on in this world that it will probably come down to that security issue too in San Lorenzo, so just food for thought. Any further discussion now?
John.
So we have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We're on J, right? Consideration of resolution R-19-36. This is having to do with Community Wildlife Protection Plan, Wildlife Risk Reduction Program, Grant Program. Wildfire, I'm sorry. Wildfire Protection Plan, Wildfire Risk Reduction Grant Program.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve resolution number R-19-36.
Second by Commissioner Solis. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Item K, consideration of resolution number R-19-37, establishing new precincts in Gwinnett County.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we approve resolution number R-19-37 in order to get to the discussion phase of this.
And I second.
Okay, any discussion?
What is it?
Tell us more.
Okay, so this resolution is, there's been some legislative changes, and,
The audience have a hard time hearing.
better? So we've had some changes. There's 3 precincts that are going to be affected. And what I mean by affected is we're just splitting them. The way that the legislature's law reads is that if there's more than 750 votes within a precinct, we do have to split that. So we had 3 that affects. So we'll be changing those, and then we did have one, which they're going to do. It's just a boundary shift. The boundary shift isn't going to affect our registered voters. It's just right now the way the boundary is set. The way they used to do them, and they're trying to get a better way of doing them, is they used to use like natural landmarks. Yeah, you could do a ditch, a polling, like the electric poles. So the only thing that this one is doing is it's moving that boundary just to a natural road. It just makes a lot more sense, and it cleans everything up. It's not going to change. It's going to be with precincts 26 and 27. It's not going to affect the voters because commission districts, legislature, everything stays the same. If it changes anything for maybe a couple, it would be just precinct number. So instead of you being in precinct 26, you're going to be in precinct 27, but they're pretty much identical in all aspects.
And there's Mr. Salas's precincts.
And since we no longer vote by precinct.
It doesn't affect your voting.
We have voter convenience centers, then it doesn't affect that.
It does not affect them. Yeah, that's why I said it really doesn't affect the registered voter, but it may just with their precinct number. Again, they choose where they want to go vote.
Any further discussion? So we have a motion. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to L, consideration of resolution R-1938, election reform basis for all statewide elections conducted in 2020 and 2021, appointing the board of registration members for the county.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve resolution R-1938.
I'll second that.
There was a second by Commissioner Edwards. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
I do have a question for the clerk. So what is the discussion, I thought that was going to be on here, what's the discussion about changing the districts? And where did that come from?
The discussion about the commission districts?
Right.
So there's going to be a change where it's basically going to be relabeling your commission number. The 2 that will be effective would be Chairman Ponce and yourself. So right now, Chairman Ponce is 1, and you're 4. So you would be 1, and Chairman Ponce would be 4. It doesn't affect your district, it doesn't move boundaries, it doesn't do anything. So with HB 407, it's an election bill that we just had passed, there was a change in there where it's basically going to affect the state, and it's just making sure that we comply with that we comply. There's a formula that has to be done, and a lot of the state wasn't within that formula. Our county is pretty lucky because of it's just relabeling, and I do understand that it will affect you as far as like your campaign stuff, but it's not going to affect anything with your district. You still represent your same exact district.
So this bill, what was the exact, are they supposed to be numbered clockwise or something?
So it's odd and even numbers is what it is, and Secretary of State will actually handle that portion of it. They haven't sent anything down for us to even give to you guys yet, so as soon as we receive anything on that, we'll get that.
But I understand, let me take a shot. My understanding is it requires us to have all the odd numbered precincts during one election and all the even numbered precincts during the next 2 years from that election. And the way we were numbered, we would have had to change one of your guys' terms. So instead of doing that, we just renumber them.
Okay.
So that they fall, as they were going to fall anyway, and they comply with the law.
And the last way of us making any changes is just to flip the two numbers between, because if we were to go a different route, as Commissioner Brown said, we would have to extend. Possibly, yes.
Like they do to the sheriffs.
Yes.
Or shorten.
Or shorten.
That's enough. Maybe I'd rather show them. I never thought of that.
There are two pieces of electrical tape, I can go from 1 to 4. So.
Yeah, and what prompted the changes, and what prompted the changes, it needs to be with the Constitution of the United States, is what it is. And a lot of the counties weren't within that, that has to be changed.
Okay. Thanks for that explanation.
So we did go on the last one, right?
Yes.
So we're moving on to that? Okay.
Where you have to be on.
Moving on to item M, consideration of resolution R-19-39.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve resolution number R-1939.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Billings, discussion. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Item N, consideration of resolution number R-19-40.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve resolution R-19-40.
I'll second that.
There's a second by Commissioner Billings, any discussion? See no discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to consideration consideration of resolution number R-19-41.
I move to approve R-1941.
Second by Commissioner Salas, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. I'm having a hard time.
No, you did good.
Motion carries. Moving on to item P, consideration of resolution R-19-42. I'll make a motion to apply this resolution number R-19-42 to the Baton Park under the Community Development Block Grant Program.
A second.
Second by Commissioner Salas. All those in favor?
Aye.
No discussion, I'm sorry. Discussion?
We've had a lot.
We've had a
The
lot.
problem is, it's only 11 o'clock.
I know, my mind's somewhere else right now, but anyway, we voted, no discussion, motion carries. Sorry about that, guys.
No problem.
Moving on to Q, consideration of resolution R-19-43.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve resolution number R-19-43.
Second by Commissioner Salas, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
I would appreciate an update on that in the next few months. Thanks.
Okay, moving on to bids and request for proposals, RFP. Item R, award reject RFP 19-5, that's the airport engineering.
Chair, I move we approve RFP 19-05.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner
And
Billings.
I'm supposed to name, if I may amend my motion, that the selection is for both Henry and Houston, who came out first in the evaluation.
So we have an amended motion. Commissioner Billings seconding the motion. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Commissioner reports, Commissioner Brown.
I have no report for today.
No report. Commissioner Edwards?
I have no report for today.
Commissioner Salas?
Same.
Nothing.
Nothing? I'm good. Moving on to next item, which is executive session in accordance with NMSA 1978 10-15-1H.
Mr. Chair, I move we go into executive session under the statute you just quoted for to discuss disposal of real property. What's that?
I thought we were going to table it.
Oh, yeah, we could, is that?
No, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either, but we can discuss tabling it right now.
So go ahead and finish your motion.
Okay, in accordance with what you just quoted, Section 8, to discuss disposal of real property.
Mr. Chair,
You made a motion, so.
It's going to fail for lack of second.
Yeah.
I second.
Oh, no, never mind.
I second because I
We didn't want a second.
Okay, well, we have a
So
second.
who is requesting this to be on the agenda? That person should speak.
So I originally requested this to be on the agenda, then I had some discussion with Charlene and Chris. We thought about taking it off. We decided to leave it on. Then I had some further discussion with the county attorney, and just for discussion purposes, we thought we'd do it. If the commission doesn't want to do it at this time. The county attorney has no information for us. I just wanted to go ahead for discussion purposes.
And the reason, I mean, just for me to say the reason sort of wanted a table, because I might not be able to be there. My mother's ill, so I'm trying to do what I needed to do, but I wanted to be part of that, so, for that discussion, so.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Well, before we do, looking at the time, Commissioner Ponce, do you have the time?
It's not whether I have the time.
Yeah, if you need to go,
No, you need to go. I'm
There's
good
nothing
for
time,
table.
we can wait 2 weeks, let's wait 2 weeks.
Anything I had to discuss can wait 2 weeks.
Okay, I would just like to put it back into executive session for, at least in 2 weeks, for our next board.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So how do we do this?
I'll withdraw my motion. Or-
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn.
A motion to adjourn?
Second.
Discussion, no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.